Yes, I read Ali Abdaal's Feel Good Productivity book in 5 hours, and I'm here to tell you all about what I read. In this particular video, I'm going to be talking about what I learned from the book, how I apply it, and what I think about the book overall. So when I read this book, I read it on Audible, which was about 5 hours to read the whole entire book. I listened to it, and it's so beautiful because it's Ali himself that narrates the book. It's Ali himself that talks about the book. So it's so soothing. Just listen to this.
Hung up my stethoscope, grabbed a mince pie and opened.
It's so beautiful. And the book itself, it talks about feel good productivity. This idea that when you feel good and when your environment feels good and you feel good within yourself, you're more likely to perform better and therefore be more productive, and you're more receptive to allow things to come in and push you to be productive. It talks about the idea of success does not lead to feeling good, but feeling good leads to success. Now, the whole entire book is divided into 3 chapters. The first chapter is Energize, which has got play, power, and people. The next one is Unblock, which is seek clarity, find courage, and get started. The last chapter is Sustain, and it has got Conserve, Recharge, and Align. In all the chapters, there are experiments in every single one of them. There are 54 actionable experiments in the whole entire book. In those experiments are things that you can try to boost your productivity. And he also explains that not every experiment will work for you. Try out the ones that you feel that are different and new that you can put into your life, and you can sort of, start your performance and boost your way of, achieving your goals. So starting off from the very first one is play. In play, he says you need to do something that somehow feels like play to you. He quotes Naval Ravikant, which says, find the work that feels like play to you but work to others. Having a different approach to how you work in a playful way can allow you to be better and perform better and be more productive. Let's put this into context. Have you ever been at a job whereby there's a lot of banter, there are a lot of jokes going about, everyone is laughing, throwing jokes and working? The likelihood of the work to be enjoyable is quite good, and when something is enjoyable and very playful, you don't think about it like it's something like a heavy task to do. You just feel like it's a play and you can accomplish the task very well. Imagine being in a scenario whereby you're joking with your colleagues, you're playing with your colleagues, you're saying things to your colleagues, and they're all laughing. The joy that you feel is so good because it pushes you to do more. You want to stay around your colleague, you want to stay around work, you want to go for lunch together. Even when you finish work, you're planning to go somewhere, do something together, like you feel energized. So he says make the environment, the work that you're doing, feel more playful. In the same chapter, he talks about create curiosity, energize yourself, and the feeling of relaxation. Those 3 things can help you, to boost a playful environment, for you to boost more productivity. He also says, don't be serious, be sincere. Be sincere why you want to do something. Be sincere why, you should do that particular job. Yes, it's good to have the money. Yes, it's okay to have the money. But if you're sincere to yourself and understand why you actually want to do it, your performance would be better, because you have to love the thing that you do, and you have to be sincere if you truly want it and it truly brings you joy. He also says that one of the things that can bring a playfulness in the environment is level up your skills. He says when you level up your skills, when you learn, when you teach yourself, when you get better at a particular thing, you have that feel good moment, the dopamine level, the oxytocin, the serotonin are all up. Therefore, your performance goes really up. So he says when you learn a new skill, it helps you in the job that you're doing to perform better. He says this particular thing, that the people that you learn from best are the ones that are a step ahead of you. So in your learning, if you want to be productive and you want to be so much better, learn from people that are slightly little bit a step ahead from you, and they're on a different kind of level. Learn from people that are better than you in that particular field, that are a step ahead from you. That way it keeps you motivated to get to that point, to get to that goal. Then he brings about the aspect of power, that having the power over your actions is most likely going to boost your productivity. He says when you walk into a room, for anything that you do, any job that you do, own it, have the power, let the power speak through you, power through confidence, power through the actions and the things that you do. It says if your control is taken away, you're most likely not to perform, you're most likely to underperform, and you're most likely to feel bad in the process of doing that. Taking control of something is the most important aspect in anything that you do. But then he says that there are aspects that you can't control. He gives an example of a teacher, and he says that, for example, a teacher in a school, the teacher cannot control the syllabus and the things that they are meant to teach in school, but what the teacher can control is how the teacher teaches the children, the interaction between the children, what she can say or what he can do, with the students, that is in his or her control. And that can boost performance because they have their own skill on where they can, deliver and help the children. In Taking Power, he also talks about take ownership in the process. The other point he points out is power, and in power he talks about having the power over the things that you do, the actions that you do, the job that you're doing. The aspects of power and taking control of that really help to boost productivity. He says, if control is taken away from you, it declines your performance. And in that he says, taking ownership of the process. The way he explains, he says, if you are a teacher in a school, you can't control the syllabus that you have to teach, but he says you can control how you teach and how you deliver to the students and your relationship with the students. If that part is taken away from you, the purpose of you being a teacher is already taken away. So therefore, you will not find a reason to actually carry on being a teacher. He also breaks it down. If you work in a restaurant, if you work in retail, it applies. You can't control the policies and procedures, but you can control the service that you give, the care that you give to the customers, how you talk, how you interact is something that you care about, and that way it can sort of boost your productivity because that's your power, that's the bit of power that you have. In that, he also talks about taking ownership of your mindset. Like, your mindset is very important to do things, to perform, and to be productive. Explain this way. He says, one day when he was finishing his shift at the hospital, a nurse came up to him and he said, Ali, can you please, help me to give medication to this particular patient? Now, him knowing that patient, he knew that finding the vein for that patient would be very difficult. Therefore, it's not something that was going to be done in 5 or 4 minutes, but something that had to take 30 minutes. And just the thought of him knowing that it's going to take 30 minutes, which means he's going to get home late, it started frustrating him. He started feeling sad. He started saying to himself that I should have left 5 minutes earlier. Why didn't I just go? I should have just ignored. I should have just walked away. He was in the room trying to organize all the things that he had to take, and he was thinking in his mind. He was very frustrated. But on the other end, there was a patient that was there, and the patient was talking to one of the relatives and saying that I'm so happy, the hospital has treated me well, the nurses have been very good, I'm so glad, it has made, the pain feel less. When he had that, his mindset sort of changed, and he felt really sad for how he was feeling. And he said to himself that he had to understand that the job that he's doing is something that creates an impact and a smile on someone else's, face. And he said that I choose to do this because it creates a smile. I choose to be a doctor. I chose to do this. I chose to do that. I chose, to be in this environment, to work at this place. And because I chose it, I need to take ownership of it and ownership of my mindset. So he just said to himself, okay, you know what? It is done. This is why it is. I need to go in. So he went into the room to treat this patient. There are two things he could have done. Go in when he's gloomy and sad and just get on with the job, or just say, you know what, I choose to do this and I'm happy that I get to do this. So he walked in with the biggest smile on his face. He treated the patient, gave the patient the medication that they needed, and he left. And he said, when you take ownership of your mindset, it changes the way you see things, and your perspective of how you see things can improve your performance and your productivity. The other thing that he mentions is people. This particular one, I relate to it in a way that he explains that people can enhance your mood and make us more productive, or people can decline your mood and make us less productive. In one of the experiments, he explains, find people that you are in sync with. And he explains this in this sort of perspective. He says, find people that are in a flow that you are in the He gives this experiment whereby he says, find people that you are in sync with, who have a work sync with you, in a way that you find a space whereby all of you can go get your laptops out, get your papers out, get everything out, and start working together. That environment of you working together and looking on the other side and someone else is doing their work and you're doing your work creates a certain kind of productivity and performance. Therefore, you're able to do more tasks, to push more, to be more motivated, not to procrastinate a lot. It could be a coffee shop or anything that you choose to go to. Find people that you're in sync with, people that are aligned with what you're going to do. It's something that I was like, pff, because it's something that I'm going to do very soon with a friend of mine. We're going to meet up and sit down and talk about our goals and things we want to accomplish in terms of content creation and things, that we see ourselves doing, going, visiting, money and all that kind of thing. So we're all going to talk about it, and that is going to be something that is very productive because we are both aligned within our goals. But it doesn't have to be someone who aligns with your goals. One can be a writer, one can be an editor, one can be, doing whatever they're doing, but being in that space whereby you're productively doing something is so good. In People, there is a phrase that he uses, the helper's high, which is the effect of giving and receiving help. He said, when you help others, the brain gives a feel-good moment like oxytocin, which is called the helper's high. So think about it this way. Have you ever been in a situation whereby you have, helped an elderly lady to carry a bag, or you have been on a line and let a pregnant lady go by, or, for some reason you've said thank you to someone, or you've returned something, kind of act of kindness can increase our dopamine level and it can help us to be more productive. I tell you, and I kid you not, I have done this before. And when I always do this kind of act of kindness, I'm telling you, nobody can tell me that I cannot accomplish anything, because that day I feel so good about myself. I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, my performance and my energy to do a lot of things is so high because of that kind of like helper's high, which is when you help someone, you're more likely to feel good within your own self. He also says that in workspaces and work environments, you can use this technique of when someone, when someone has borrowed you something and you're returning something, or, in that case, always leave like a thank you note. Or if you see a colleague is very distressed at work, you can always say, can we go out for lunch together? Or always getting someone a coffee or a tea, or saying, what, let's go out for a walk, things like that. A little bit of act of kindness can help us so much to feel good about ourselves and perform better at work, because when you do something good for someone, you're most likely to feel good about yourself, and when you feel good about yourself, then you're going to be more productive. That's the point. Feel good productivity. He quotes the Benjamin Franklin effect. It is when we ask for help, it mostly makes the other person think better of us. When you ask help from someone else, that person feels good because they feel like their intelligence level or their know-how is quite high, and you regard them in that way. Therefore, they will feel better about you and they'll feel good about you, and that whole environment and that whole thing creates a feel-good moment, which helps you to be productive. He also dives into this importance of people, and he talks about the importance of good news and how you react to someone else's good news. And this is something that I'm telling you that we unconsciously do, or you do, that you get to a level whereby someone's good news turns into a moment. Comes to you and says, I've got a job in Manchester, so I'm going to move to Manchester, and your reaction is, oh my god, you're going to Manchester, so we're not going to see each other anymore, you're too far away, like who told you to take something like that, but you know what, I'm happy for you. That in itself has created a down moment, and the performance of that person is actually going to go down. But if the person tells you that news and you're like, oh my god, Manchester, that is really great, I would love to come and visit you there, it's a new environment, a fresh start for you, I am so happy for you, that creates a whole different energy, a whole feel good moment. And when that feel good moment is ignited, you're most likely to actually go and do better, or that person is able to perform better. So the way we react to the actions of others and the good news of others really plays a big part. Then in chapter 2, he talks about seeking clarity. He explains that you always have to ask for an explanation, particular thing that you want to do, or that particular task that you want to do. And he talks about the commander questions, which are, what is the purpose of me doing this? If you're trying to build a business, ask yourself, why am I trying to build this business? What do I need from this business? What is the end result? Like, you have to put in that commander mindset to help you, seek more clarity on that particular task that you're trying to do. He talks about the 5 whys. And the 5 whys is that you have to ask whys 5 times. And when you ask that, you get to the root cause of that particular problem. Let's look at it this way. For example, if someone says to you that, I'm tired, I'm not going to work today, and you ask them why, they say, oh, I just don't feel good, I don't have any energy. Why? Because yesterday at work, there were not enough staff, so I ended up doing everything. Why? Because I feel unappreciated, I don't feel listened to, I don't feel heard. Why? Because all of a sudden I feel like I'm doing everything. And then it gets to the why that answers the question that the reason as to why you're feeling this tired is because you're feeling unappreciated, you're feeling underwhelmed, at work, and because of that you just automatically feel tired and you're not listened to. If you ask why for that particular thing, it helps. He gives that example that with his team, when they say that we have to do this, he asks why, and whatever answer they give, he asks why until they get to the root cause of that particular thing, of that particular problem. He also throws in how to achieve your goals, and obviously the very main important part of why a productivity book is written is to achieve the goals that you have to achieve. And he puts in this aspect of SMART. Now, if you've not heard about SMART, SMART is something that was used by entrepreneurial people to set kind of a standard of how to achieve goals within a business setting. And SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. And he explains that particular SMART aspect, he tried it but it did not work for him. So he said, what better way can I achieve my goals, and can I create a kind of method in which I can achieve my goals? So he created NICE. Now in NICE, it is N for near-term goals that you can do weekly, goals that you can do monthly. I for input goals that you can do now and here. C, controllable, the goals that you can control now. Set 5 minutes aside, you can control that because you have set the 5. And E is energizing, finding the energy and the feel good dopamine to push you through those goals. He also talks about finding courage in the book, and in finding courage, he says know your fear. He says when you understand what your fear is, you're able to do the things that you have to do with knowing that fear is there, but you're going to go through it anyway. He gives a very good example when he was before he started his YouTube channel, or when he had just started, he used to say, oh, I'll upload, whenever I need to upload, oh, next time or the other time, I'm too busy at work, something is happening, this is going on. And then when he sat down and understood what the reason was, he found out that it was fear to be seen, fear for his videos not to, be watched, fear the fact that it will not go anywhere, all those things were fear. Then he said to himself, when he understood that it was fear, he had to find a way to work through fear, because fear is not something that you're just going to automatically, get rid of. We're always going to have fear. You have to feel the fear and do it anyway. There's an actual book, about feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm not quite sure by, who is it, by Susanna or Catherine? I'm not quite sure, but I'm just, guessing, but I know it's by a female writer, for sure. But regardless of that, he says when you know the fear and you label it, it helps you to understand why it is, and it increases your performance and your productivity. He gives an example of Adele, which you should read the book and you see that example that he gives of Adele, which is so profound, because we know Adele's story and her whole journey when it comes to music and being afraid of the audience. He also brings up aspects of self-doubt, self-perception, the way you see yourself, and the way you look at yourself can also decline your performance in anything that you're doing. And he says it's so important to understand those aspects and know what is the root cause of it that will help you to push your performance up. He does mention that 10-10-10 rule, and in the 10-10 rule it says, will this matter in 10 minutes? Will this matter in 1 week? Will this matter in 10 years? When you understand the 10-10 rule, he has this kind of graph where he explains the 10-10 rule. But in the 10-10 rule, for my understanding, was sort of like, will this matter 10 years from now, 10 minutes from now, 10 weeks from now? And if it will not matter, there is no point spending your time with it, because in actual sense it's going to make you feel even worse. But in order to boost your performance and understanding how that particular thing is going to matter within a period of time will help you. Then the last part of everything, he talks about this Conserve. And in Conserve itself, that is a point that I say hit me as well, and it brought a different understanding to a particular thing. Now, we've all had of burnout. You've had of burnout, I've had of burnout, and we associate burnout to working hard, too many hours in and out, lack of rest and all that. There is that aspect of burnout, but there is an aspect of burnout that we don't normally talk about, or we don't normally see, and that is a silent burnout that is actually a huge burnout. So he gives a very good example where he was talking to his mom and telling his mom how he's feeling. Remember, he starts off the whole book talking about him working on Christmas Day, the fact that he had to work on Christmas Day, treat the patients on Christmas Day, feeling bad, the fact that he forgot to ask for his annual leave, patients coming in, and he's running all over the place, and he's just getting so tired and thinking about what is my life turning into. So there is a point where he was talking to his mom, and he was telling his mom how he feels, and the mom told him that you're burnt out. He was like, no, I'm not burnt out. That is me being ungrateful to people who are actually working for a cause or for a purpose, or something like that. And the mom said to him that burnout is not something that only happens to overworked people or stressed people. It can happen to anyone when they stop feeling meaningful towards the job or underwhelmed. It's not all the time about the hours that you put in or how many sleepless nights you're having. You can have that sort of burnout where you feel so underwhelmed, you're not feeling good about the job, it's a bit slow. There is that type of burnout that you've lost the purpose to why you're doing the job. He points out, 3 types of burnouts, and the first one that he talks about is overexhaustion, which is taking too much work on, which affects your mood, therefore your mood starts suffering. Then the second one is misalignment, and misalignment, he says that where your goals and who you are not aligning, it means that you're putting your energy in the wrong place, and when you put your energy in the wrong place, you get to feel tired, your performance goes down, your productivity goes down, and procrastination hits in, in a way. Then he also talks about depletion burnout, which is where your mood is suffering because of lack of rest. Like you've not relaxed, not just small rest, but actual resting, like longer hours of rest. In the book in itself, there are things that he mentions about procrastination, mindset, time blocking, and all those things. If you read books to do with productivity, those things are always in there, which are very good. So for me, overall, in the whole entire book, I got this sum up of everything. In the book, he's trying to say that your feel good is the key point on how productive you can be. It says being productive is not about working hard or working and accomplishing your tasks with no breaks. It's about how productive you can get to finish the tasks, avoiding burnout, and feeling good in the process. So the whole entire book is such a very good book because it takes a whole different perspective on productivity. It brings up a lot of things that we tend to neglect when it comes to productivity, because not being productive, maybe they say get yourself a highlighter or drink enough water or do some exercise, or read what you can or set some 5 minutes aside, eat well, all those kind of things are talked about to be, productive and working on your mindset and things like that. But in this book, he takes a different perspective where he talks about mainly things to do with thyself, things like, helping other people, how that can make you feel good to increase your productivity. I never thought about that, but it's true. I have felt good when I did good things for other people, and I wanted to do more and more and more and more and be more productive. So the book itself is such a good read. I absolutely love this book. I give it a 4-star, and the only reason that's why I give it a 4-star is because in the book I feel like Ali does not have the connection between there is no relatability, because he doesn't talk so much about a lot of things. He only talks about his university days just a bit, and then talks about his work days. Well, the book is about productivity, therefore it suits him talking about those aspects. But I feel like aspects about family, friendships, outside work, and all that kind of thing would be nice, because for me sometimes when I watch Ali, is this way and I'm here, and there is no connection. I know he went to university like I did. He got a job in medicine, but I didn't do that. I did law, which is completely different. But the relatability is not there. But I think that's where the personal aspect comes from. And I think Ali has had this thing where he separates his personal away from what his work is, which is okay. But I'm not saying it's a memoir or a biography, but that would have been nice. There are lots of things in the book that you can obviously, put into it. It includes a lot of graphs in the book, a lot of actionable things that you can do, which are just so good. And that's really all I can say. I would recommend you listen to the book on Audible because it is so good. He narrates the whole entire book from the beginning to the very end. And so think about Ali on YouTube, how he does it. It feels like you're listening to his YouTube videos on Audible, which is so nice, for 5 hours, which I did. I'm overloaded with information from that book, which I still need to dissect and listen to. It's overall a good book when it comes to productivity. It's completely different. It's not your ordinary productivity book that you can find over the counter compared to other books. He spent 3.5 years writing the book, and I can literally see that he spent time in it. The book is actually Ali himself in the book, which is just good. So I'd recommend you to pick up the book. That's all I have to say about the book. Let me know if you're going to pick up the book, or I've encouraged you to pick up the book. For me, I feel like I'm going to implement these things, and I'll let you know how I feel at the end of the year. If you haven't watched my video about the books that I read, please go on and check it out. It's my first book that I'm reading in 2024, this particular book, Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal, and I hope it really goes well. I'm able to implement these things. I learned so much, and it makes me more aware of certain things and why I'm not being productive. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. Bye bye.